Mathematics 2, Quarter 4, Week 1. Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Chell. Please share, like, and subscribe. Thank you. Math 2, Week 1, Day 1. Learning competencies. The learners represent and identify unit fractions with denominators 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. Read and write unit fractions in fraction notation. Learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, the learners are able to identify unit fractions with denominators 2 and 4. Represent unit fractions with denominators 2 and 4. Read unit fractions with denominators 2 and 4 using fraction notation. Write unit fractions with denominators 2 and 4 using fraction notation. Now kids, look at the pictures below. Do you still remember your topic in grade 1? Now let's see and let's review. To present using visual model the unit fraction from the previous concept of fraction in grade 1, then to identify, write, and read the unit fraction in fraction notation, stemming from the visual presentation of 1/2 and 1/4. Then show its fraction notation and model. Remember, a fraction is part of a whole. In unit fraction, the numerator is 1. The number of equal parts of a whole is the denominator. When a whole is cut into 2 equal parts, each part is 1/2 of a whole. This is the unit fraction with denominator 2. When a whole is cut into 4 equal parts, each part of a whole is 1/4. This is the unit fraction with denominator 4. In the visual model of unit fraction, the numerator is the shaded part of a whole, while the denominator is the number of equal parts of a whole. In fractional notation, numerator is the shaded part of a whole over denominator, the number of equal parts of a whole. Let's read situation number 1. Teacher Mira has a loaf bread. She wanted to share it with Miko and Sheila, her 2 students. Teacher Mira wanted to give equal amount with 2 students, so she cut it into 2 equal parts. After cutting a whole bread, it has now 2 equal parts. Thus, the amount of bread for Miko is 1/2 of a whole. Below is the visual model of bread for Miko that shows 1/2 of a whole. The shaded part of bread for Miko is the visual model of 1/2 of a whole, which is 1/2 in fraction notation. In fraction notation, 1/2, 1 represents the shaded part of a whole, which is called the numerator, while 2 is the number of equal parts of a whole, which is called the denominator. Miko's bread is equal or the same amount for Sheila. Therefore, Sheila will receive the same amount of bread, 1/2 of a whole. Now let's proceed to situation number 2. After cutting the bread into 2 equal parts, Pedro and Abdul came and joined them in the classroom. Who are they? Miko, Sheila, Pedro, and Abdul. This time, how many students now are with Teacher Mira? Yes, there are 4. This is the bread with 2 equal parts for Miko and Sheila. To be able to share equal bread with Pedro and Abdul, the bread for Miko and Sheila have to cut again equally. After cutting equally each part for Miko and Sheila, the whole bread is now like this. The shaded part of the bread for Miko is 1/4 of a whole and is the visual model of 1/4. The original 1/2 for Miko is now 1/4 in fraction notation. The numerator is 1, which represents the shaded part of a whole for Miko, and the denominator is 4, which represents the number of equal parts of a whole. The bread for Pedro, Abdul, and Sheila is the same with Miko. So each will have 1/4 of a whole, which is 1/4 in fraction notation. How much will be received by Pedro? How about Abdul? Sheila? Let us practice what we have just learned about fraction 1/2 and 1/4. Directions. Represent the given unit fraction by shading the part of a whole. Write unit fractions represented with the given picture. For the generalizations, ask the class to work by pair and to give an example of visual model of 1/2. Other pairs will show a visual model of 1/4. For the evaluation part, draw a happy face if your answer is yes, and sad face if your answer is no. Number 1. I can identify the visual model of 1/2. Number 2. I can identify the visual model of 1/4. 3. I can shade the part of a whole to show 1/4. 4. I can shade the part of a whole to show 1/2. Math 2, Week 1, Day 2. Learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, the learners are able to identify unit fraction with denominator is 8. Represent unit fraction with denominator 8. Read unit fraction with denominator 8 using fraction notation. Write unit fraction with denominator 8 using fraction notation. Kids, remember your activity 2 on day 1? Write the fraction represented with a given figure in A. How about the figure in B? Note that the answer should be in fraction notation. What is this, grade 2? How about this one? What is this? The goal of this lesson is to present the unit fraction with denominator 8 using visual model. Then, develop the concept into identifying the unit fraction presented by model and write it in fraction notation. Remember, a fraction is part of a whole. In unit fraction, the numerator is 1. The number of equal parts of a whole is the denominator. When a whole is cut into 8 equal parts, each part is 1/8 of a whole. This is the unit fraction with denominator 8. In the visual model of unit fraction with denominator 8, one part of a whole is shaded out of 8 equal parts. The shaded part is the numerator, while the number of equal parts is the denominator. This is the unit fraction of denominator 8. Now let's read situation number 3. Alan wanted to buy a snack for his mother. He checked in the canteen and saw a whole pizza, which is the favorite of his mother. However, his money is not enough to buy a whole, so he bought only a portion of it. How many equal parts are there in one whole pizza? How many part of pizza was bought by Alan for his mother? This is the visual model of unit fraction with denominator 8. In fraction notation, this is 1/8. Now, let us take a look at the next example. This is another visual model or representation of 1/8. In the given figure, what fraction is represented by the shaded portion of a whole? Use each figure to model 1/8. These are the possible answers. Note, there are many possible answers because learners may shade different part of a whole as long as there is an only one part of a whole is shaded. For part B, write 1/8 on the space provided if the figure represents 1/8. The first model is not a visual model of 1/8. For the generalizations, ask the class to work by pair and to give an example of visual model of 1/8. Then ask some of them to share their outputs. For the evaluation part, draw a happy face if your answer is yes, and draw a sad face if your answer is no. Number 1. I can identify the visual model of 1/8. 2. I can shade the part of a whole to show 1/8. Additional activities. Shade the part to show 1/8. Math 2, Week 1, Day 3. Learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, the learners are able to identify unit fractions with denominators 3 and 6. Represent unit fractions with denominators 3 and 6. Read unit fractions with denominators 3 and 6 using fraction notation. Write unit fractions with denominators 3 and 6 using fraction notation. What fraction is represented by each figure? The goal of this lesson is to show the visual model of unit fractions with denominators 3 and 6, then vice versa, to identify and write the unit fraction in fraction notation based on the given model. Unlocking of difficulties. This time, let's learn the meaning of these words that we will be using in our lesson. A fraction is part of a whole. In unit fraction, the numerator is 1. The number of equal parts of a whole is the denominator. When a whole is cut into 3 equal parts, each part is 1/3 of a whole. This is the unit fraction with denominator 3. When a whole is cut into 6 equal parts, each part is 1/6 of a whole. This is the unit fraction with denominator 6. In the visual model of a unit fraction with denominator 3, one part of a whole is shaded out of 3 equal parts. The shaded part is the numerator, while the number of equal parts is the denominator. In the visual model of a unit fraction with denominator 6, one part of a whole is shaded out of 6 equal parts. The shaded part is the numerator, while the number of equal parts is the denominator. Now look at the screen. What is the numerator? How about the denominator? Does the given fraction a unit fraction? Why? What is the unit fraction represented by each figure? Write it on the space provided. Now, let us look at this figure. How many equal parts does it have? If I shade one part of the whole, what is the fraction represented by the shaded part? Now, let us look at the next figure. Count the number of equal parts of a rectangle, then count the number of shaded parts of a whole. Which fraction is represented by the figure? Why? To deepen learners' understanding on the unit fractions with denominators 3 and 6, let us answer this activity. Directions. Use the grid below to make a visual model to represent each unit fraction with denominators 3 and 6. A unit fraction with denominator 2 is done as an example. For the generalizations, ask the class to work by pair and to give an example of visual models of 1/3 and 1/6. Then, ask some of them to share their outputs. For the evaluation part, draw a happy face if the answer is yes, and draw a sad face if your answer is no. Number 1. I can identify if the visual model represents 1/3. 2. I can show 1/3 using visual model or figure. 3. I can identify if the visual model represents 1/6. 4. I can show 1/6 using visual model or figure. Math 2, Week 1, Day 4. Learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, the learners are able to identify unit fraction with denominator 5, represent unit fraction with denominator 5, read unit fraction with denominator 5 using fraction notation, write unit fraction with denominator 5 using fraction notation. Before we proceed to our new lesson, show a visual presentation of fractions 1/3 and 1/6. Unlocking of difficulties. Now let's read the meaning of the words here as we're using them in our lesson. A fraction is part of a whole. In unit fraction, the numerator is 1. The number of equal parts of a whole is the denominator. When a whole is cut into 5 equal parts, each part is 1/5 of a whole. This is the unit fraction with denominator 5. In the visual model of a unit fraction with denominator 5, one part of a whole is shaded out of 5 equal parts. The shaded part is the numerator, while the number of equal parts is the denominator. How many equal parts does the figure have? How many parts of a whole is shaded? Does the figure represent a unit fraction? What is the unit fraction represented by the shaded portion of a whole? Now, let us check your understanding. In the given figures, which of these represents the 1/5? Did you get the same answer? Why do you think the answer is C? What is the unit fraction represented by each figure? Write it on the space provided. Which of the following pictures is not a unit fraction? For the generalizations, ask the class to work by pair and to give an example of visual model of 1/5. Then, ask some of them to share their outputs. For the evaluation part, draw a happy face if your answer is yes, and draw a sad face if your answer is no. Number 1. I can identify if the visual model represents 1/5. 2. I can show 1/5 using visual model or figure. Math 2, Week 1, Day 5. Learning objectives. Review and apply the concept of unit fractions with denominators 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. Accurately draw visual models representing various unit fractions. Demonstrate mastery of reading and writing all learned unit fractions. Quick review activity. Flashcards showing various unit fractions and asking learners to read them aloud and state the total number of equal parts. The purpose is to synthesize all learned concepts regarding unit fractions, 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, 1/6, 1/8, and assess overall mastery of the week's lesson competencies. Review numerator, denominator, unit fraction, equal parts, and fraction notation. You can also focus in drawing activity for learners who struggled with denominators 3 or 6. And that's it for today. I hope that you learned something. So do not forget to share, like, and subscribe. Thank you.